The stars were quiet that night, or at least they seemed quiet. Deep in the black between suns, a single signal whispered across the void. It was not a normal signal. It carried no trade offer, no map, no warning beacon. It was a voice, small and broken, saying only 3 words again and again: "Help us. Please." The voice was strange, weak, and full of static. No one knew who sent it. No one knew from where it came. But it did not vanish. It grew stronger, like a heartbeat, until it reached the one place no one expected: Earth. On Earth, the signal came through an old deep space array built during a time when humans still hoped to find friends among the stars. The array had been sleeping for years. When the weak cry for help hit its receivers, lights that had been dark for a decade flickered awake. Alarms rang. Scientists rushed to their screens. Some felt excitement. Some felt dread. No alien had ever called Earth for help before. In a dark control room, a young technician named Javid leaned close to his console. He listened again. The voice was faint but clear enough to make out. He turned to his supervisor. "It's repeating, sir. Same message. Unknown language patterns, but the words are in our phonetics. Someone out there is saying, 'Help us. Please.'" The room went silent. Everyone looked at the waveforms crawling across the monitors like a ghost pulse. It should have ended there, but it didn't. Within hours the signal spread across every listening post in orbit and on the moon. It pulsed like a beacon, a plea that refused to be ignored. Debates exploded at the United Nations. Was it a trap? Was it a test? Or was it real suffering in need of aid? Humanity had seen war, famine, and exile among the stars before. They had built ships not only to defend but to rescue. Still, this signal felt different. It came from deep inside a region maps called only the Deathworld Corridor, a sector of space full of dangerous stars and unexplored ruins where even automated probes did not return. The decision came quickly, almost too quickly. A single ship would go. It would be small, fast, and hard to track. It would carry no flags. It would be armed, but only for defense. Its mission: find the source of the distress call and, if possible, bring survivors home. The ship chosen was not famous. It had no proud name from old myths. It was simply called the Resolute. But it was one of the few built to survive hostile worlds. Inside the Resolute, men and women strapped themselves into acceleration couches. They were not soldiers exactly. They were a mix: engineers, medics, pilots, and one quiet figure who had no listed role at all. Every one of them had volunteered after hearing the broken voice. None of them spoke as the countdown began. They all felt the same cold truth: no one else was coming. They were it. As the ship lifted from its cradle, cameras on Earth watched. Billions of eyes saw the flames roar and the hull vanish into the clouds. Some cheered. Some prayed. Some simply turned off the screen, not wanting to watch a mission that looked like a suicide run. Out there in the dark, the voice still whispered, "Help us. Please." Days passed. The Resolute left the safe lanes and crossed into the corridor. Outside, stars burned strange colors, green and violet, as if poisoned. Radiation storms brushed the hull like claws. The crew said little. They slept in shifts, ate in silence, and checked their weapons though they were not supposed to need them. Javid, now part of the ship's sensor team, kept listening to the signal. It grew sharper, more urgent. Once or twice he thought he heard another sound behind the words, like breathing, or maybe crying. Then, on the edge of a dead system, the ship's alarms screamed. Not a star. Not a planet. Something else. A shape moved ahead, huge and dark, blocking starlight like a mountain in space. Its lines were wrong, too jagged for a ship, too smooth for an asteroid. No transponder. No heat signature. Yet it drifted as if waiting. The distress signal pulsed from inside it. The captain ordered full stop. Weapons stayed cold but ready. The crew floated at their stations, hearts pounding. Through the forward screen the dark shape slowly turned, revealing a single red light like an eye. The signal stopped. Silence filled the ship. And then, a new voice spoke in perfect human words. "You answered." Every hair on Javed's neck rose. The ship's hull sensors showed nothing. No weapons, no engines, no life signs, but the red eye kept watching them. In the control room, the captain whispered, "Who are you?" The voice replied after a long pause, "We called for help. Now help us, if you dare." In that moment, the crew of the Resolute understood why no one else had answered. This was not just a rescue. This was something else, something older, something that had been waiting in the dark for someone foolish or brave enough to come. And humanity had come. The captain's hand hovered over the controls. Go closer, or turn back. The choice had to be made now. Javed's console flickered with unreadable data, as if the dark shape was scanning them in return. The ship's engines hummed like a heartbeat. Outside, the red eye blinked once, twice, like a signal of its own. The crew held their breath. Then, without warning, the dark shape began to open. The black shape in space began to unfold like a flower made of metal. Plates slid back with a soundless ripple. Inside was a hollow chamber glowing with a dim blue light. It looked like a mouth opening, an invitation, or a trap. The Resolute hung still. Every sensor on board screamed with confused data. Temperature readings were wrong. Mass readings flickered. It was as if the object was both solid and empty at the same time. The captain's voice was low but steady. "Hold position. Shields at full. Javed, keep that signal locked." "Aye," Javed whispered. His fingers shook as he adjusted the controls. The signal was no longer a plea. It was now a pattern, slow and rhythmic, like a heartbeat calling to another heartbeat. The chamber ahead pulsed with faint light, opening wider. Suddenly a line of text flashed across the Resolute's main screen. It was written in human letters, simple and cold. "Enter." Nothing else. No greeting, no warning. Just that one word. The crew looked at one another. No one spoke for a long moment. Finally the captain exhaled. "We came for survivors. We won't find them by sitting out here." He keyed the intercom. "Helm, bring us in. 1 meter per second. All weapons cold. No sudden moves." Engines whispered, and the ship glided forward. The opening swallowed them like a cave. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the stars outside vanished. It felt like falling into a tunnel. The Resolute's lights flickered. Gravity shifted for a moment, making stomachs lurch. Then they were inside. The chamber was huge, far bigger than the exterior had suggested. Walls of black material curved away into the blue glow. Strange symbols flickered and faded like fireflies. No seams. No doors. Only a central platform shaped like a circle. The distress signal now echoed inside their helmets, louder, almost painful. Javed muttered, "This is impossible. The mass, it's like we're inside a ship but also somewhere else." The quiet figure at the back of the crew, the one with no listed role, finally spoke, voice calm and strange. "It's a gateway. This is not its real body. This is only a door." Heads turned. The captain frowned. "And you know that how?" The figure didn't answer. They simply adjusted their harness and stared at the platform ahead. Then the signal stopped again. Total silence. The platform's glow changed from blue to white. Lines of light crawled across it, forming shapes like paths. One by one, the crew's wrist displays flickered to life. New text appeared, "One may approach." The captain swallowed. "It wants one of us to go." "Sir," Javed said quickly, "this could be a test. Or a trap." "I know." The captain looked at his people. "But someone has to step forward." No one volunteered at first. The silence felt heavy, pressing on their chests. Finally, the quiet figure unstrapped and floated toward the airlock. "I'll go," they said. Their eyes reflected the white glow. "I think it called me here." The captain tried to protest but stopped. Something in the figure's tone was too calm, too certain. "Suit up," he said at last. "We'll keep you on tether and comms. If anything changes, you get out." The figure nodded and moved into the lock. The door hissed open. Air flowed like a sigh. The figure drifted toward the glowing platform, boots touching down softly. The moment they did, the white light flared. Symbols raced around them, rising like sparks. The crew watched on their screens, breath held. "Can you hear us?" the captain asked. "Yes," came the reply, steady but distant. "It's talking." "What do you mean talking?" "We hear nothing. I don't hear words. I see memories." The figure's voice trembled now. "This place has been waiting. It is wounded. It is not a ship. It is a being." Before anyone could answer, the chamber shook. The Resolute's hull groaned. Lights flickered again. Javed's console filled with warnings, radiation spikes, gravity waves, something moving in the walls. "Captain, readings are off the scale," he shouted. On the platform, the figure raised their head. "It's showing me what hurt it. Machines. Hunters. They came to break it, to steal what it guards. It called for help, but only humans came. It doesn't know if we are friend or foe." "Tell it we're here to help," the captain ordered. "Tell it now." "I'm trying," the figure said. "But it's scared." The blue glow turned red. All around the chamber, the walls shifted like living tissue. Panels opened, revealing long shapes like spears of metal. They did not look friendly. The Resolute's gunners flicked safeties off, hands hovering. "Captain," Javed whispered, "we need to leave. Now." "We can't," the captain said. "If we fire, we'll be dead. If we run, it might destroy us anyway." The figure on the platform shouted suddenly, voice echoing. "It knows your hearts. Do not move. Do not aim." They dropped to one knee and placed their hands on the glowing floor. Light poured up their arms. The spears above trembled but did not fire. "Talk to it," the captain urged. "I am," the figure gasped. "But it wants proof." "Proof of what?" "That we are not like the hunters who hurt it. That we will stand, not strike." The glow rose higher, swallowing the figure in light. Their outline blurred, like a shadow dissolving. The crew stared, helpless. Javed's console went black. Then a new line of text appeared, not on the screen but inside every helmet speaker, a voice deep and alien yet clear. "Show your hands. Show your hearts. Or be unmade." The chamber trembled again. Outside, space itself bent. The Resolute was no longer in normal space, stars twisted like spirals. The crew slowly raised their empty hands, palms outward, even the gunners. No one spoke. No one moved. The red glow dimmed slightly, like a heartbeat slowing. The spears folded back halfway. On the platform, the figure's outline solidified once more. Their voice came weak but alive. "It is thinking. It is deciding if we live." Then everything went still. The only sound was their own breathing. And from deep within the walls, another voice began to rise. Not a machine's, but a chorus, thousands of whispers at once, speaking in a language no human knew. The decision had begun. The chamber stayed frozen. No one on the Resolute moved or spoke. Their hands were still raised, palms open, as the strange chorus poured from the walls. It sounded like wind and water and whispers all at once. Javed's pulse hammered in his ears. The sensors showed no weapons now, but the power readings were huge, like standing next to a star. On the platform, the quiet figure was kneeling, eyes closed. Light still crawled up their arms like living threads. The captain kept his voice low, almost a whisper. "Can you hear us? What is it saying?" The figure's voice came soft but clear. "It's not words. It's memories. It is showing me what it lost." Images flickered on every screen. They were not from the Resolute's cameras. They were visions. A vast world of silver forests. Towers of crystal. Beings of light moving through the air. Then ships of black iron tearing the sky, fire raining down, the towers falling. The chorus rose like a scream. It was a home, the figure said, trembling. It was alive. It was a guardian. They broke it. They hunted it. It fled here. It has been calling for help for 1,000 years. Javad whispered, and now it thinks we're like them. The captain swallowed. Then show it we're not. Tell it who we are. I'm trying, the figure said. It listens but it doesn't understand words. It understands choices. The glow turned from red to white again, but the white was sharp, blinding. A new shape appeared on the platform, a small sphere of light hovering between the figure and the crew. Inside the sphere, images moved. One image was the Resolute. The other was a black iron ship, bristling with weapons. The two images spun like coins. Above them appeared two symbols, one green, one black. Javad stared. It's making us choose, he said. One path peace, one path war. The captain's jaw tightened. How do we show peace when we're inside a creature that could kill us at any second? The figure reached toward the sphere. By not taking what isn't ours. By not striking first. The chorus grew louder, vibrating through the hall. Panels opened on the walls again, but instead of spears, streams of blue light flowed down like waterfalls. They formed a path from the platform back to the Resolute's airlock. A door had opened. A way out. The captain hesitated. Is it letting us leave? The figure's eyes glowed faintly. It is offering us a test. If we go now without taking anything, without trying to harm it, it will trust. If we try to scan or steal or attack, it will destroy us. Javad whispered, we came to rescue survivors. We found no one. Only this. The captain nodded slowly. Then we leave. He keyed the intercom. All hands, stand down. No scanning. No samples. We're going home empty-handed. The crew obeyed, pulling back from their stations. Weapons powered down. Engines stayed cold. One by one, the lights on the Resolute dimmed to standby, making the ship look small and harmless. The figure stood, still glowing faintly. It is watching. They stepped off the platform and drifted back toward the airlock. As soon as their boots left the circle, the glow faded from their arms. The chorus softened. The blue streams of light brightened, guiding them like a road. Inside the Resolute, air hissed as the lock closed. The captain's hands shook as he sealed it. Strap in, he ordered. Helm, follow the lights out. The ship glided forward slowly. The chamber around them pulsed like a heartbeat. The blue path curved upward toward a faint oval of stars. Javad's console blinked green for the first time since entering. It's opening a way back to normal space, he said, almost not believing it. The figure sank into their seat, pale and silent. The captain glanced at them. You okay? I think so, they whispered. It showed me one more thing. The hunters are still out there. They are coming again. That's why it called. Before the captain could reply, the stars outside twisted once more. With a shudder the Resolute shot through the oval of light. The chamber vanished. They were back in open space, the corridor of death behind them. No sign of the black shape. No signal on the sensors. Only normal starlight. Relief flooded the crew. Some laughed shakily. Some cried. Javad just stared at his console. The distress signal was gone. In its place a new signal pulsed, weak but clear, directed at Earth. It was not a cry for help. It was coordinates. The captain frowned. What's that? The figure opened their eyes. It's a warning. Or a message. It wants us to be ready. Ready for what? For the hunters, the figure said softly. They're coming, and next time they won't just attack it. They'll come for us too. Silence filled the bridge. Outside, the stars looked calm, but everyone on the Resolute felt the same chill. Humanity had answered a call for help. Now something vast and wounded knew who they were. And somewhere in the dark, the hunters had heard, too. The captain straightened. Set course for Earth. Full burn. This goes straight to command. Engines roared to life. The Resolute turned, leaving the haunted corridor behind. But in the back of every mind on board, one thought burned. Answering that voice had changed everything. Humanity was no longer just a species among stars. It had been marked. As the ship accelerated, the figure whispered a final sentence no one else heard. It said, "We are its last hope. And its last shield." And then the stars stretched into lines as they jumped, carrying the warning home. The Resolute slid back into Earth orbit like a ghost ship. Its hull was scorched from radiation storms, its crew pale and silent. Below, the blue planet turned slowly, lights of cities sparkling on the dark side. But no one on the bridge felt homecoming joy. They had brought something back. Not a thing, but a truth. The captain stood at the window, eyes hard. "Send the packet to command," he said. Javed's fingers moved quickly over the console. The data they had collected, the images, the coordinates, the voice, went down in a burst of coded light to the surface. The quiet figure who had stood on the platform stared at their hands as if the light from the alien still clung to their skin. Inside the United Earth Command building, alarms and messages began to flash. In a sealed chamber, generals, scientists and ministers gathered around a hollow table. The captain's report appeared as a floating sphere of blue light. They watched the black shape unfold, the glowing platform, the spears, the coordinates. When the image of the hunters appeared, black iron ships tearing a silver sky, the room went silent. "They're coming," the captain's recorded voice said. "Not just for it. For us. We must prepare." At first, some scoffed. "We've had false alarms before," one official muttered. But the scientists shook their heads. The energy readings alone were enough to frighten them. "If those ships exist," said Dr. Moreau, the chief physicist, "they are older and stronger than anything in our fleet. And the entity that called us is not lying. It is hurt. It has enemies." A debate erupted. Should they mobilize the defense fleets? Should they send probes to the coordinates? Should they reach out to the alien again? Voices rose. Fear seeped into every word. The oldest admiral slammed a hand on the table. "We cannot sit and argue. If even half of this is true, we're already in danger. We must act." Back on the Resolute, Javed watched the news feeds blink. Leaks had begun. Someone had already sent images to the press. People on the streets were seeing the black iron ships on their personal screens. Some dismissed them as fakes. Some believed and panicked. Markets dipped. Militias whispered about aliens hiding in orbit. The captain cursed softly. "We're losing control of the story." The quiet figure finally spoke, voice low. "It warned me about this. It said the hunters spread fear before they strike. They make their prey fight itself first." Javed turned to them. "So what do we do?" The figure looked out at Earth's blue oceans. "We stay united. We tell the truth. We prepare." Within hours, Earth Command broadcast an emergency address. The Secretary General appeared on every channel, eyes grim. In simple words, she told humanity about the distress call, the alien guardian, and the coming hunters. She did not show all the images, but enough to make it real. "We are not alone," she said. "And we are not safe. But we are not powerless." All over the world, reactions exploded. Some cheered, proud that humans had been chosen to answer. Some raged that the crew had brought danger home. Some prayed. Some built shelters. In the shadows of old cities, strange groups began to gather, claiming secret knowledge of the hunters. Fear had many voices. Inside orbiting shipyards, engineers worked through the night. Long-stored defense plans were pulled out of vaults. Prototypes that had been mothballed were dragged back into light. Small nations offered their best pilots. Old rivals sent cautious messages of cooperation. Something was moving, slow but real. Humanity was beginning to mobilize. On the Resolute, the crew watched the planet turning below. They were under quarantine but could see the broadcasts. Javed sat at his console, fingers tracing the last line of alien text on his screen. "Show your hearts. Or be unmade." It echoed in his mind. He thought of the spears folding back, the chorus softening. Maybe, he thought, the alien had given them a chance, not just a warning. The captain came to stand beside him. "Orders just came through," he said. "We're to remain on standby as advisors. They want us at command headquarters in 24 hours. Javed glanced at the quiet figure, who was staring at the stars. "Do you think the hunters know where we are?" "They know," the figure said softly. "They were listening when it called. They will come. But not yet. They are gathering." The captain's jaw tightened. "Then we'll gather too." Down on Earth, a huge hangar door opened on a forgotten airbase. Inside, under layers of dust, stood a ship much larger than the Resolute, built for deep space war but never tested. Workers in exosuits swarmed over it, stripping off covers, running new cables. The name on its hull was simple: Vanguard. Cameras kept away, but word spread. Something was waking. And far beyond the edges of known space, in a region where no human map reached, black iron ships drifted like sharks. They were silent, but their hulls glimmered with strange symbols. In their cores, engines began to stir. The hunters had indeed heard the signal. They had marked the blue world. And they were smiling. Back on the Resolute, night cycle began. Javed lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He thought of the alien's silver forests, the way its voice had sounded when it first said, "You answered." He wondered if, one day soon, humanity would hear those words from someone else, not as a plea, but as a threat. In the dark, the quiet figure whispered to no one, "It has chosen you. Now you must choose yourselves." Factories that had slept for years began to hum again. In every orbiting yard above Earth, new scaffolds rose around old frames. Ships once designed for exploration were stripped and rebuilt. Engines upgraded. Hulls thickened. Weapons tested quietly in the dark. On the surface, young people lined up at recruitment centers. Not just soldiers, but engineers, doctors, translators, codebreakers. It looked like wartime, but no enemy had yet been seen. In a quiet corner of the United Earth Command building, the crew of the Resolute sat in a sealed room. A single screen glowed before them. The Secretary General herself spoke without cameras. "We are not telling the public everything," she said. "But we are preparing. Your testimony is now the backbone of our defense plan." She leaned closer. "You must also advise us about the alien you met. We need to understand it." The quiet figure from the platform raised their head. "It is still listening," they said simply. "I feel it. It will not speak again until it is sure you are ready." Javed asked, "Can it help us fight?" The figure shook their head. "It is wounded. It cannot leave. But it can teach." Outside the sealed room, another drama was unfolding. Humanity had always suspected there were other civilizations, hidden or shy. Now, small signals began to appear in old channels. A merchant species from the outer belt offered star maps in exchange for protection. A silent colony on a distant moon finally admitted its founders were not entirely human. Tiny pieces of a bigger picture fell into place. Some aliens had feared the hunters for centuries. They had only hidden. But Earth had answered a distress call, and that act rippled outward. Within weeks, an informal alliance began to form. Messages arrived from scattered stations and unknown beacons. None were large powers, but each brought a fragment of knowledge: old hunter ship layouts, scraps of language, clues to their tactics. In secret, Earth gathered these into a single vault called the Arc Room. Inside it, planners worked day and night, building new strategies. But the hunters were not still. Across the deep, black iron ships moved like shadows. They did not broadcast. They did not answer hails. But new telescopic arrays caught glimpses, a silhouette against a dying sun, a spike of engine wake on an empty trajectory. They were not racing, they were closing in, patient and sure. The Resolute was ordered back into service as a scout. It left Earth quietly, no press, no ceremony. Javed stood again at the sensor console, eyes fixed on the dark. The captain's voice was tight. "We're not rescuers now. We're the early warning." The quiet figure came too, though they seemed thinner, as if some of the aliens' light had been burned out of them. They spent long hours at the viewport, murmuring words no one else understood. "It is still calling," they said one night. "Not for help. For courage." Meanwhile on Earth, something extraordinary happened. Old rivals shared shipyards. Private groups poured money into defense. Farmers volunteered drones for orbital supply. Even children sent messages to the stars, short and bright: "We are not afraid." The hunters' plan to spread fear was working in reverse. Humanity was pulling together. But fear had not vanished. Rumors spread of hunter spies, of sabotage, of sleeper cells. An explosion in a warehouse near the Arc Room killed 3 technicians. The public did not know. Command suspected someone, somewhere, was trying to slow the mobilization. The captain received coded orders: "Be alert for infiltration." Weeks into their patrol, the Resolute crossed the edge of the Deathworld corridor again. The stars here burned cold and sickly. Instruments shuddered under invisible pressure. Then, faint on the sensors, a new signal appeared. It was not the alien's voice. It was not human. It was a sharp, clicking code, repeated twice, then silence. Javed's hands trembled. "That's hunter traffic," he said. "Encrypted but old. They're close." The captain stared at the screen. "Position." Javed shook his head. "No clear fix. They're masking." The quiet figure closed their eyes. "They know you're watching. They want you to run." The captain straightened. "We're not running." He ordered the ship dark, all active scans off. The Resolute drifted like a dead stone. Outside, the stars wheeled slowly. Minutes passed. Hours. Then, through the forward viewport, a shape emerged, huge, black, and glinting with alien light. Not as big as the Guardian, but larger than any human ship. Its hull bristled with strange veins. It made no move to attack. It simply watched. Every breath on the Resolute seemed loud. Javed whispered, "They found us." The captain's voice was calm but cold. "Hold steady. Do not arm weapons. Record everything." The quiet figure opened their eyes. "This is not their main fleet," they said softly. "This is a scout. They're testing you like you tested the Guardian." Outside, the black ship drifted closer, slow and silent, until its veins filled the viewport. Symbols flickered on its skin like scars. Then, without warning, a beam of pale light swept across the Resolute, scanning it from bow to stern. Panels rattled. Lights dimmed. Comms died for a heartbeat. When the beam vanished, the black ship turned away, engines flaring. It glided back into the dark, and was gone. The captain exhaled. "Message to command," he said hoarsely. "They've made contact. They know who we are." Javed stared after the vanished ship. "They're not afraid of us." "No," the captain said. "But maybe they're curious. And curiosity means time." Back on Earth, the Arc Room lights burned all night. Plans changed, deadlines moved forward. The hunters were no longer a story on a screen. They were here. And humanity had only one choice left: be ready or be broken. The Resolute slipped back to Earth orbit under blackout protocols. No announcements. No cameras. Its hull still held a faint burn mark where the hunter's scanning beam had touched it. Inside, the crew spoke little. They all knew what it meant: the hunters had found them. The waiting time was over. In the Arc Room, The Secretary General watched the new footage in silence. The Hunter Scout's black veins glinted on the holotable, its pale scan sweeping across the Resolute. "It came close, scanned you, and left," she said quietly. "It didn't fire." The captain nodded. "They're marking targets. They're choosing where to strike first." Across the room, Dr. Moreau pointed to a cluster of data. "They're not sending one fleet. They're sending probes, raiders, vanguards. They'll test our defenses before the real blow." His voice was low. "We're out of time." And still, in the shadows of Earth, sabotage grew. Another explosion hit a supply yard in orbit. A transport full of engine parts vanished on the way to Luna Dock. In secret, the Hunter's long fingers had already reached inside humanity's preparations. But outwardly, the mobilization rolled on. The great warship Vanguard now floated free of scaffolds, its engines glowing like twin suns. Hundreds of smaller escorts circled it, practicing maneuvers. On the ground, shelters opened, evacuation routes mapped. Children were taught simple signal phrases in case of attack. Hide. Signal. Wait. The crew of the Resolute were transferred to the Vanguard as advisors. Javed walked its long corridors feeling like an ant inside a steel whale. Everything was new, untested. Even the weapons were prototypes. "Will it work?" he whispered. The quiet figure walked beside him, eyes far away. "It depends who fires first." The first strike came not at Earth but at a small outpost near the edge of the Deathworld corridor. It was a listening station run by a mixed crew of humans and traders. One moment its beacon pulsed normally, the next, static. When a rescue tug arrived hours later, it found nothing but drifting debris and a cloud of frozen sparks where the station had been. No survivors. No attackers. Only a single piece of black metal, still warm. News reached Earth within minutes. It was the proof no one wanted. The Hunters had begun. In an emergency session, the Arc Room authorized forward patrols. The Vanguard and its escorts moved out under silent drives, not to attack but to guard the frontier. The plan was to intercept the next raider before it reached inhabited space. Days later, on the edge of a red dwarf system, the Hunter appeared again. This time it was not a scout but a war skimmer, small compared to the Guardian but bristling with weapons. It came in fast, dark and silent, trying to slip past sensors. But the Vanguard was waiting. On the bridge, alarms whispered. "Contact bearing 093, Javed said, voice tight. "Hunter craft. Weapons hot." The captain's jaw hardened. "Helm, bring us about. No fire until fired upon." The war skimmer closed the gap. It did not hail. It did not slow. Its veins unfolded like wings. Energy built along its flanks. "They're charging," someone shouted. The captain took a breath. "All ships, defensive posture. Do not shoot yet." Blue shields flared across the Vanguard's hull. Escort ships formed a wall. The war skimmer darted closer, weaving like a predator. Then, with no warning, a lance of pale light shot from its prow, striking the nearest escort. The smaller ship's shields shattered. Its hull spun away trailing sparks. "Return fire," the captain snapped. Beams of coherent light and streams of kinetic slugs leapt from the Vanguard's batteries. Space lit with white scars. The war skimmer twisted, half its veins burning, but it fired again, slicing another escort's engines. Crew shouted. Panels shook. The first clash between humanity and the Hunters had begun. Javed's hands flew over his console, feeding targeting data to the gunners. "They're faster than our locks," he hissed. "We need to anticipate." The quiet figure stood at the viewport, eyes glowing faintly. "It's not fighting to win. It's measuring you." "Measuring," the captain barked. "Your response. Your weapons. Your fear." Another beam grazed the Vanguard, making shields ripple. The gunners fired a spread of missiles, forcing the war skimmer to veer. One missile struck home, blowing a black vein into shards. For the first time, the Hunter ship wavered. Its pale light flickered. A ragged cheer went up. Direct hit. But the quiet figure did not cheer. It will not stay, they whispered. It has what it came for. Indeed, the war skimmer spun, engines flaring. Instead of pressing the attack, it accelerated away, vanes folding. The vanguard gave chase for a few moments, but its drives could not match the hunters. Within minutes, the black ship vanished into the dark. On the bridge, silence fell except for alarms. 2 escorts were crippled, dozens injured. The vanguard itself had scars. Yet they had survived. The captain stared at the empty stars. They came, struck, learned, and left. Next time it won't be a skimmer. Javed rubbed his eyes. They know our numbers now. Our tactics. The quiet figure turned to them. But now you know there's 2. They are not gods. They can bleed. And they are afraid, not of your guns, but of your unity. Back on Earth, the images of the battle reached command. They did not show explosions or bodies, only streaks of light in dark space. But to every planner and leader watching, it was clear. The war had started. The hunters would come again, stronger. In a dark room under the arc room, engineers worked on something new. Not a ship. Not a weapon. A signal. A message crafted from fragments the alien guardian had left behind. They called it the answer. No one knew if it would summon help or doom. But soon, they would send it. Earth turned like a blue jewel under a night sky full of moving lights. Hundreds of ships orbited now, some human-built, some donated or rebuilt from old trader hulls. Below, cities dimmed their lights to feed power into launch pads. Children learned evacuation drills by heart. The vanguard sat at the center of it all, scarred but alive. Yet everyone knew, the hunters had not struck with full force. They were only testing. In the arc room, the answer lay on a pedestal, a crystal sphere threaded with silver and light, built from the alien guardian's fragments. Engineers whispered around it, as if it might speak. The quiet figure from the Resolute stood before it, eyes closed. "It is ready," they said at last. "It will call, but only once." The Secretary-General looked at the captain. "Do we risk it?" The captain's voice was firm. "If the hunters bring their main fleet, we cannot win alone. The Guardian can't leave. We need allies, or something greater." She nodded slowly. "Then send it." A technician touched the console. A soft pulse left the sphere, a silent ripple of light across the void. It went faster than radio, faster than any human signal. Somewhere in the Deathworld corridor, something ancient stirred. Hours later, the sky above Earth changed. Telescopes caught them first, hundreds of black shapes dropping out of dark space like knives. The hunters had come. Alarms shrieked. The fleet launched. The vanguard rose with its escorts, engines burning white. Across continents, people crowded into shelters. The Secretary-General's voice went out on every channel. "Stand together. Show your hearts." On the vanguard's bridge, Javed's console filled with red contacts. Multiple hunter craft. Main fleet inbound. 2 minutes to weapons range. The captain gripped the rail. "All ships, defensive screen. Do not break formation." Through the viewport the hunters filled the sky. Black iron hulls, veins open like wings, pale energy crawling across their skins. They did not hail. They simply accelerated. Then the first strike came. Pale beams lanced through space, hitting shields, burning holes through smaller ships. Human weapons answered, streaks of light crossing the void. Explosions bloomed like cold flowers. The battle for Earth had begun. Javed fed targeting data, sweat on his brow. Shields holding on Sector 3. Sector 5 collapsing. The quiet figure moved to the viewport. Their eyes glowed faintly, the same glow from the Guardian's platform. "It hears you," they whispered. "It is coming." Suddenly, every comm channel filled with a low tone, deep, like the sound of a mountain moving. Out beyond the edge of the fight, the stars bent. A shape, unfolded from nothing. Plates slid back. Light poured out. The Guardian had arrived. It was not a ship. It was a living fortress of metal and light, larger than any huntercraft. Wounds still marked its flanks, but its core burned bright. Its voice rolled across every speaker, not in words but in feeling. We are here. The hunters hesitated for the first time. Their veins fluttered. Beams flickered. Then they turned, focusing fire on the Guardian. Pale lances ripped into its hull. The Guardian roared, not with sound but with gravity. A pulse of energy slammed outward, pushing hunter ships back like leaves. The captain seized the moment. All ships, push. Cover the Guardian. The human fleet surged forward. Missiles and beams tore into hunter flanks. Black hulls cracked, spilling strange light. But for every hunter that fell, 2 more pressed in. The Guardian shuddered under the assault, its light dimming. On the bridge, alarms blared. Guardian losing power. Javid shouted. The quiet figure turned to the captain. It cannot last. But it can lend its heart. What do you mean? It will give you its last strength, if you choose to take it. Outside, the Guardian's core opened like a flower. A lance of blue energy reached toward the vanguard, touching its prow. Systems surged. Weapons readings spiked. Javid stared. It's feeding us power. The captain met his crew's eyes. Then we strike together. He gave the order. The vanguard's guns blazed brighter than before, beams cutting through hunter armor like paper. Escort ships followed, their weapons burning blue with alien light. For the first time, the hunters broke formation. Some turned away. Some fired wildly. One by one, their hulls burst into silent fire. The Guardian pulsed again, driving the remaining hunters back. But its glow flickered, wounds widening. It had given all it had. In the final moment, the quiet figure pressed their hands to the console, eyes shut. "Show your hearts," they whispered. A ripple of light swept through the fleet. Not just weapons, but a signal, a pulse of intent, echoing the Guardian's plea. Across the battlefield, hunter ships faltered, their veins folding as if in confusion. The captain seized the opening. Push them out. Together, human ships and allies struck a last coordinated blow. The hunters broke and fled into the dark, veins closing like wings. The sky above Earth cleared. Silence fell. On the vanguard's viewport, the Guardian drifted, its light fading. One last pulse of blue reached the fleet, like a heartbeat. Then its plates folded inward. It sank back into the void, vanishing without a trace. Javid's hands shook. Is it gone? The quiet figure smiled faintly. Not gone. Watching. Healing. It chose you. Now you must stand. Below, Earth turned slowly, whole and bright. People poured from shelters, staring at the quiet sky. They had not won a final victory, only a beginning. But for the first time, the hunters had been driven back. On the bridge, the captain straightened. Send the message, he said. Tell the world, we stood. And we will stand again. Javid touched the console. A simple signal left the ship, echoing the Guardian's voice. 3 words, clear and strong. We are here. Out in the dark, far beyond the edge of sensors, the hunters heard. And for the first time in 1,000 years, they hesitated.